All right, it is showtime.
Hi.
We are live. Yeah, we're live.
Yeah.
Carstensen Team Remax results. Michelle, Stacy, and Chuck all here today. We haven't had a live show for a little while. And again, Michelle forgot how to do this, like literally.
Hey, my volume was on. Chill.
That's why I wear the headset, so I don't get feedback in mine. And then if I'm going to watch my Facebook feed on my phone, I put the headsets on my phone, so then I know it's working, but I don't get feedback. I've learned this stuff. I've learned a couple things in my life of doing this. I do have a broadcasting career previous to this. People sometimes don't know that I broadcast sports and did some radio DJing back in my youthful days. So that's about it. You guys don't seem too impressed by that, Michelle.
I'm impressed.
All right. Again, Carstensen Team Remax results are, I think this is number 19. I tagged on it, live show, which we did our first one, I think, last April. So almost probably a little over a year ago. I can't remember exactly the date we did it. Right around a year ago when COVID hit and we figured out there's this technology called StreamYard that we could record it, post it to Facebook, and then talk about real estate. And, lots changed, but also probably in the last several months, not that much has changed. I mean, the market's been steadily, seemingly going up. I got to go this way on the screen, going up. And it's been hard for buyers in a lot of cases to get homes. They've had to be very aggressive. We're going to talk about some of the things that are working on this show, maybe some of the things that are not working. Sellers are doing well for the most part, depending on the house, condition of the house, and certain amenities and location. Most sellers are doing well. We could maybe talk our sellers getting greedy. I don't know. There's things we can talk about in this show. If you're watching us, you can type a comment, ask a question that way. Obviously, message us. You can interact with us through the comment section for sure. And we'd be happy to answer your real estate questions. And if you've got a real estate need, we're happy to help you too, of course. So, all right, that's my rambling. Michelle, Stacy, introduce yourself a little bit for new listeners.
Well, I'm Stacy. I'm on the Carstensen team. I joined them probably almost 4 years ago now. Just kind of work all around the areas. Office out at Elk River. I don't know. Work up that way and surrounding areas and Hinckley and Rogers and all the way to Deerwood. So everywhere, anywhere that someone needs to help looking at a house, our team basically covers all the areas. So we are your full service real estate agents.
What is the farthest you've went this year, Stacy, to sell a house?
10 Strike, Bemidji.
And where is 10 Strike?
It's right by Bemidji.
How far away is that?
I think my total drive time was like over 7 hours total, like there and back. Maybe it was closer to 8. I don't even remember. I just put in my GPS, listened to some podcasts, and went.
And you got there and you got back.
Yeah,
it was there and back safely.
And it was a full day, so that's okay. Got some calls in and listened to some podcasts and sold a house, so it was a good day.
Good job. Mm-hmm. I'm Michelle, Chuck's sister. No, just kidding. I always tell everyone, it's like basically all family except for Stacy. She just works with us, and then they all laugh.
Well, it can be family.
It's true, it can be. What is the farthest I went this year? I haven't had to go too far. Finlayson, but that's not far from you guys. No, I guess I went to Moose Lake. Yeah, that's about it this year.
Sabika, isn't that kind of far?
I didn't go there though. Chuck went there.
Oh, I thought you did.
Yep, I went to Sabika. I actually went to Park Rapids, and then that one didn't work out. So I went to Osage. I think that's how you say it. That's by Park Rapids, and that one is in the process of working out. So
nice.
That is 3 hours from my doorstep to that house. So
okay.
Yeah, we go all over. But part of the reason, so we can just remind people this up front, and a lot of people will listen to the recording instead of tune in 10 a.m. Monday morning because, they're probably doing other things. But we put this recording on the Real Life Impact podcast. You can obviously watch it recording on Facebook or YouTube again. Some of the people are literally buying from, all over Minnesota. That's why I got licensed in Wisconsin. Some people are Wisconsin to that, that area of Minnesota, because you could be an hour into Wisconsin or 45 minutes and you're coming all the way to where I live, Cambridge, by Santee area. Some people are going, north, like the Pine City to Grantsburg area. So a lot of people are looking in a wide area with the working remotely or whatever the situation is, looking for a lake home, looking for hunting land, looking for camping, recreation land. So, so we might as well help them so they don't have to call 7 agents in 7 other areas. And I think in the current market, which many people know, or if you're just trying to find out about the market, there's just not that many homes out there that actually work for you, whether they're lake homes, regular homes, or even land is selling like crazy fast now. So it's not like we have to drive to 7 different locations and show somebody 38 homes. It's very rare. It's normally, there's maybe a 3 location, 6 home, and that's it. And do some people look at more than 10 homes? Yes, but it's super rare. You basically got to be ready to go now in this market. And most people have to make more than 1 offer to get a house because it's just like initially the processing of, I can't believe the listing price is like the lowest they'll sell it for. And most offers come in now in a lot of the price ranges on the homes that are looking good and all that. Most offers on those homes, especially if they have a little bit of land or lake frontage or whatever extra things a lot of people are looking for, are coming in, 20,000 over price is actually like the baseline price. So the price, but then 20,000 is the baseline. So you make a 20,000 over the asking price offer, and I've had this on listings, you're the lowest offer. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
that's true.
It is.
Some listings, we don't even get a list price offer. It's just 20, 30, 40, 50,000 over. So just guessing. It's like price is right.
Which is frustrating, I know, for buyers. I mean, it's frustrating for us too, but like we can kind of talk through it and kind of get the buyers to feel better. And, at least they're trying. And you never know on some of the properties if it will go $20,000, $30,000 over. I mean, some of them, depending on location, aren't going that far over, but it really kind of depends.
Yep. And I think Chuck brought up in the beginning, like, are sellers wanting too much money, which I have seen on a few listings lately that my buyers are watching is like they list a price too high and think, oh, I might as well list it 40,000 over because I'm going to get 40,000. That's not the way you should list your house. You got to list it what it's worth and then hope to get more and hope to gosh you get what we listed for because it might be less than that. I know me and Chuck have gotten 1 or 2 through just getting the list price, 2 for sure, already this year because they were probably listed a tad bit too high. But I know one's pending and the other one already appraised and that one closed. So a tad bit too high, 1 offer, got the house. But if you listed too high, I mean, like, you can't just list your house too high just because everyone's going to bid it up. You can't expect them to bid 40,000 over, 40,000 too high list price too. So we're kind of seeing that starting to happen a lot more, I think. Obviously, when you come working with sellers, they're like, well, I want this much. If you want this much, we need to list it about 20 to 30,000 lower so that you get that much. Because we start out there and you don't get any showings, you're not going to get a bid up. And that's been working normally. I think that's been working for Chuck and you as well. So it's kind of like be where you're at. If that is the lowest price you get on your list price and you're okay with it, great. We just want more. But if that's what we need, then that's where we have to list.
That's where we should start.
We get that. Yep.
I would agree.
And I see a lot of the buyers I have right now are contingent on selling their house, which I think we talked about last time that there's programs that you could buy and sell. I was thinking about this today. I have one that needs to buy and sell, and it's hard because you tell them, tell the buyers on the listing, like, oh, you need 45 days to find a house. And I was thinking about this today, like, if I just put the sale, they go find a house, buy it, or the opposite, actually, I was thinking is list the house, tell them we need like a July 15th closing, and then just go find a house.
Yep.
You're going to move anyway. So
yeah, I'm seeing that a lot on listings as well. Like, hey, preferred closing date, and it's middle of the summer, which I mean, because they need to sell and they need to buy. And generally speaking, I mean, that's what's being written in a lot of like the agent notes and stuff like that too. But
yeah, and I think I think now that'll be kind of maybe my new strategy. Instead of saying like we need 45 days to find a house, just put the date out like 2.5, 3 months. And if we can change it, like maybe we'll say we're flexible, but we need to put it out because you can't buy and sell at the same time. That's not going to happen. You're not going to get an offer through buying and then go listing your house. Like super rare. I can't say you can't ever, but super rare.
Not right now. Yeah.
And I think people are less likely to want to like wait to see if you find a house because they just want to buy a house right now. So I think just putting the closing date out is probably the ticket from now on.
Yep.
Well, that's one of the solutions, putting the closing date out farther. Also, the knock home swap program does work with somebody for situations if they have decent, just straight qualifying for a bridge loan, going non-contingent, then listing your house and timing it out is still possible because we are selling most of them in the first weekend. And then there's other financing solutions that are slightly different, like we talked to Onward Financial, where they can essentially finance in a way that you don't own your other home. They'll get you back a loan on the one you're buying, and then you sell your home. And yeah, they charge, each of these companies charge a little extra fee, but for, if I did the math quick in my head, it depends on your price. For $5,000, if that's your peace of mind and your house is selling for more than you thought it would, that's one way of doing it. But I just listed 3 or 4 ways of doing it. And there are options, and we're getting it to work. I think we're doing a good job adjusting to the market more than some realtors I notice. It might be like, what do you mean realtors you notice like they're not adjusting? Well, I can just tell in all the listings we have how they approach their offers, and sometimes they're not approaching it in a way that could get the buyer the property when they probably could just tweak things, just that little subtle shift, and they would be right there and they could get their buyer home. So it's very important that you're working with somebody now who has obviously options, solutions, knowledge, a game plan, can communicate the game plan. And if you don't want to go with the game plan, that's fine. But I don't know if everybody's getting the game plan from the people they're working with. Prime example, I did have somebody that had another agent that, gave up working with them because they were 0 for 5 on offers and didn't want to stretch the area they're helping them in. And I explained certain things and how to make it work. And they're like, yeah, this works. And it didn't take too long to get them an offer, just by having, more experience and knowing how to do it and explaining to them in a way where they felt like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And the sad part about that one, they seemed to know more than whoever they were working with before. So they kind of got it. They're just like needed somebody that would help them do what they thought would work, which is very interesting, unfortunately, for them, and working with the wrong person before. So we run into that, obviously helping buyers, but I run into it a lot, like having the listings and being like, gosh, these people probably could buy this house and would buy it if they had somebody that knew how to get the offer through. So yeah, that's very important. People got to remember that.
Yeah. No, it's a different kind of market. And then obviously the interest rate went a tad up, now went a tad back down, somewhere in between the up and the down. And another thing is like, okay, yeah, your house is basically going to sell if we listed at a good price, but you still have to like clean your house and like organize your house and declutter your house. You can't just say like, okay, just walk into my house and buy it. I mean, yeah, if I listed so low that they just walk in and buy it. But
if you're going to push the price and not clean the house, I went in one yesterday. I won't even say where it is because there's so few listings. I went in one yesterday that literally, like, it was like my socks, I did take off my shoes. My socks were like almost sticking to the carpet. It was so gross. And we weren't in there very long, but it was not good. And the price they picked was like the price it would be if it was above average showing, not excellent. If it was excellent, it'd probably been a little bit higher. But when it's below average, I'm like, oh man, well, maybe somebody will still go with it because there's so few out there. But it was very interesting. Like, wow.
Yikes.
Yeah, I've showed a few that have been pretty cluttered lately, and it's like, wow, it's like I feel as though they just rushed to get it on the market to make sure it got on the market so they could sell, and they just assumed that once they started to maybe clean it, it would sell. But it would, I mean, just take that extra week and a half or 2 weeks to get it decluttered and show so much better, and you'll have so much more activity.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't rush it.
I've had sellers lately that their house was immaculate too. So I'm not saying everybody.
No,
but,
yeah. I would agree.
good job. Like my house isn't like
And also, you know, we forget this. I mean, we don't forget this, but you got to, somebody immaculate is different than the next person
Yes.
immaculate. We grew up with
Absolutely.
Gail Carstensen. Everything's very clean with Gail.
Well, I mean, like when I bought my house, like last month, they said, oh, they did a deep cleaning. And I was like, well, it's probably a deep cleaning for them, but it's not deep cleaning for Gail Carstensen or Michelle Carstensen.
Yeah. I mean,
So,
everyone's version is different. You're right.
I mean, I thought it was pretty clean compared to most of the walkthroughs I go through. But then when you like start cleaning, you're like, oh.
Deep cleaning is the nastiness off of everything, right?
Yes, not just like sweeping and vacuuming.
But just so people know, for walkthroughs, technically broom swept clean is accurate. You do want to plan.
They said they deep cleaned it. Like, don't tell me you deep cleaned it.
Maybe they deep cleaned 80% of it.
Yeah.
Maybe sweeping and mopping and wiping the countertops is deep cleaning to them.
True. Maybe.
If that's the case, I deep clean my house every day.
There was like this much, we painted and there was like this much dust on top of like the mirror in the bathroom and the kitchen cupboard. I was like scrubbing the dust and the grease off of it.
Yikes.
And then under the appliances and washer and dryer. And I'm not saying you're going to go clean under your washer and dryer, but I mean, like, I don't know. I'm just like super clean person.
So when we sold last year, you know, to get it ready, we had to like clean, and there was probably that much dust on our cabinet. It's like, oh man, this is nasty. And then when we sold, I literally had carpet cleaners and home cleaners come in to make it, you know, pretty clean. And they do a better job. It's just, for me, I was like, yeah, I'm going to spend I don't know what it was, $750. So the buyer got a clean house. They're not like, that real estate agent's nasty house, like Michelle's basically saying. So
I know.
So it was more reputation wise. I didn't want them to be like, oh, they're nasty. Although, you know, when you have a dog, 4 kids, and you're busy, we're probably not the cleanest people, but I wanted to leave it clean. So that's what I did.
Yeah. I suppose that's what I think about too when I sell my house. Like, people are going to be like, the agent, oh my God, she just like did this and didn't do this. Like, that's my fear too. Like, I've done walkthroughs, and there was one I closed on. It had to have been last year at the end of the year. Or maybe it was the beginning of this year. I don't remember 100%, but it was your bubbler.
Yes, I want them to sponsor me and get free a bubbler.
Nice. It was the cleanest house that I'd walked through, and the buyers like mentioned it, and they were extremely thankful because they're like, wow, we were going to spend the whole day cleaning before we moved in. Now we can just move in, and we don't like, they literally didn't have to clean anything. It was so clean. And I made sure to reach out to the agent, to reach out to their sellers and thank them for that, because it's not common practice. So it was really appreciated. And then you walk through some, and I go back and I clean it before the buyers go. I know. But yeah, so if you're gonna list your house, clean it, deep clean your house. Try to, and like Chuck said, Stacey said, take like an extra week if you have it. But I mean, most people know they're starting to look for a house. Like some of my sellers like have been looking for a year, some for a couple months. So they've just been getting their house ready. That's how most people are. But I guess one day you could wake up and just want to buy a house and have to sell yours. I mean, it does happen. Or you find something amazing on the MLS and you're like, all right, I'll sell.
Yeah, I know. So
could happen to me.
Clutter. Get a storage unit. Get your stuff out. We've talked about that before. And just declutter. And now it's spring, so like fertilize your lawn. Get the dog poop out. Get the leaves out. You know, like stain your deck. That's
mulch
too. Yep. Outside is like what they're going to see first. In the winter, it's like a lot different.
Correct.
But I noticed like when I was looking at houses in Florida, like what caught your eye is what the peel was outside because there's never snow, right? So now, like, I feel like we're in that season where, like, what does your front yard look like?
Yeah.
Because people are going to notice. And seriously, just pick up your dog poop. Honestly, I hate stepping in dog poop when I'm, like, showing houses. Like, it can't be that hard.
It's not.
No. So, yeah, I mean, I think that overall, like, that's, you know, declutter and get ready for spring. And obviously when it's time to plant the flowers, trim the trees. I'm doing what Chuck did. I know they didn't ask you to do it, Chuck, but you did your driveway, right? Before you closed.
Resealed it.
Yeah, I'm doing that now. Like I haven't done that in a long time, but I was like, that's a big thing that I see lately. Like walking up, you can see like cracks everywhere. People are like, oh, cracks in the driveway. I'm like, God, you just need to reseal it. It's like $200.
That's so inexpensive.
$150, I think.
Well, and you just wait for the guys to come around that are doing it in the neighborhood, and you just negotiate with them, and you can get a good deal. Like that's what we did last year. Some guy was just walking through our neighborhood and knocked on the door, and Eric's like, yeah, we want it done. He goes, I'll pay you X amount of dollars. Come back.
That's Roxy. That's Roxy. Roxy is a doggy, not a.
Maybe I was hearing her as my ghost sounds.
I think so. Very ghosty sounding.
In the other room. Does she want attention?
Well, I think she has to go outside, and I'm only one here, so she's waiting. I'll have to let her out. I'll be
Wow.
Yeah.
We'll remove Michelle from the stream.
That's funny.
That is funny.
Yeah, the outside is a big deal.
Yep, the outside's a big deal. Obviously, sometimes people bought in the winter might say, "Oh, okay, now I see why they sold when the snow is covered."
Right.
But that could be a strategy. The market hasn't slowed down as far as prices. When are they going to level off? I mean, that's a prediction we've been talking about for several months. And in a typical year, like not COVID last year, not whatever we're at with COVID this year. In a typical year, the spike is April, May, June, and then people are busy with their vacations and whatever. And then there's still people in July and early August maybe trying to make the school move, but then it would settle down. I don't think this year it's going to settle down like a normal year yet. It's still not a normal year. There's still people trying to get something. And I also think even if the prices finally, let's say they've been spiking, like they have been more than I would have ever thought they would have. Let's say they do level off. It'll just be because there's still a lot of people trying to get homes. So they're like, well, that's what they've been selling for. I'm okay paying that. But yeah, at a certain point, they're not going to keep going up. I don't see them dropping down at all seriously soon. Although since the spike is higher than I thought, there is potential for a little bit of a slight dip, next winter. Then the spring will probably re-correct it. And so, yeah, there's some people that are like, I'm going to wait till the bubble bursts. And we've talked about this several times. There's just such a lack of inventory and such a demand. There's very unlikely to be a bubble burst. And what people don't realize, and this is a huge thing, and we talked about the equity. A lot of people have equity in their home. But what people don't realize, the people winning most of these offers is very rarely, if you don't have a strong down payment, 20% down or more, wouldn't you say, Stacy, that's 75% of the offers are the people that get them are strong down payments. So it's not like a lot of these people are buying 0 down. They're buying 20% down. So it's not like if you're forced to sell and you got the house, you had equity and you might just lose money on the sale. There's some people getting in, whatever, 0 down, 3% down, 3.5% down.
Yeah.
But it's so rare now. I rarely get an FHA buyer through. We've got a couple we're working on the listings, but it's
I got a
pretty
couple
rare
out there, so we gotta hope for them.
Yeah, but what people think is the bubble's going to burst. The bubble bursts if people are forced sale or get foreclosed and all this. And there's still like some people trying to sell you what I don't know what they try to sell, like real estate investing, that tell people that the bubble's going to burst. But it's like all these buyers are putting 10, 20, 30, 40 cash buyers down. They're not going to lose their house when they've got that much into it. They're just not. They're not. So not too many buyers that would be in a tough situation are actually getting the houses through, meaning like if the market slid down and they had to sell, they'd be upside down. There's a very few of the people that would be upside down just because of their equity positions, just so few of them.
Very true.
What's one of the things that we talked a little bit about advising? Michelle probably wants to be back in. Let's bring her back in. Hi, Michelle. I forgot about you.
I guess I'll start working then if I don't need to be here.
So what I was bringing back up, what's one of the things we maybe haven't talked about that's working to get offers through, or we've, recapping what we've seen a lot of, what what's one or two things you wanted to share, Michelle, that like, here's how you're going to get your offer through if you're a buyer, or at least what you got to strongly consider to get an offer through?
Appraisal clause. If your buyers,
Explain
even
that.
if they have, okay, so say you have a 5% down buyer, you're probably going to need to be conventional. I mean, I'm assuming once in a while FHA gets through or VA gets through, but so you have 5% down buyer, but somehow they have so 300,000, 5% down is 15,000, but they have an extra 5,000. They offer in a $300,000 property. They put in the offer that that if the property appraises below the purchase price, they will pay up to $5,000 over the appraisal before they'll even have to renegotiate. So if it appraises for $295, we're good to go. $297, which I've heard a couple of appraisals have been low by like $2,000 lately, and I just like, what? Are you joking? Anyways, so that gives the seller some security, like, oh, we're not going to have to renegotiate if it's only 5,000 low and the buyers had the money. Now, a lot of times that is tough for most 5% down buyers, but I've had a few already this year close on that. And then obviously looking for 10, like you said, 10, 20, 30, 40% down buyers is way more likely. I know I've seen some people waiving the appraisal clause, but you've got to have money to do that. But if you're like a 30, 35, 40% down buyer, even 20% down buyer, and you waive the appraisal clause, you can go down to 5, 10% and use that extra money we're going to put down to pay out the appraisal. And that's what some people are doing. But also a lot of people don't want to go below 20%. If you put less than 20% down, you have to pay PMI on the mortgage. And that can be, $100 a month, could be $200 a month.
But if you have cash, you could buy yourself out of that too, in some cases. So you could pay a fee up front for that and then do the math on what makes sense. So
yeah.
So the appraisal clause is big. The appraisal clause is big. Stacy, what's another one on your mind?
Another one that I've seen people doing is waiving the inspection, which we don't always recommend just because it protects the buyers and the sellers at the standpoint. A few things I saw on a listing I had that is sold, but buyers are still doing the inspection. However, it's not contingent on the sale of the house. So they still want to do the inspection for their own knowledge. They weren't going to ask for any repairs or replacements or price negotiations. They were basically doing it as a pass-fail. So like if something structurally and huge was wrong with it, they had a way to get out. But if it, checked all the marks and everything like that, they just kind of took it and left it. So, that's one thing. I always like to tell my buyers, like, I don't encourage you to waive the inspection. That's 100% up to you. I would want you to be protected. So if something is like structurally wrong with it, like, going into it that it's going to be a huge issue. But that is another big one that we are seeing people do, is waiving that.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. And the thing is like most offers I get now are no inspection. A lot of the ones probably 50-50 on the ones I offer on no inspection. I've gotten a lot of offers through as long as I have 10, 20% down on the appraisal clause asking for an inspection, and me just telling the agent, this is how it is. I talk to my buyers and I can ask for 50 things on the inspection. And that's been working out pretty good as well. But I have seen recently, what you're saying, Stacey, when you're like, they'll write in like, this is, not contingent on inspection, but we're doing it, or, it is contingent on inspection, but we literally, that's only if something major is like structurally wrong. And I've had actually people waive the well and septic contingency as well. Of course, the county is going to want you to do the septic. Yeah. But I've seen that too.
Another thing I've seen too is that sellers are doing home pre-inspections. So, that's something too to cover the sellers if something were to be wrong with it down the line, to avoid arbitration or some issues to come up, is just do a pre-inspection and provide that to the buyers coming in so they're comfortable waiving the inspection.
I know. The funny thing is, though, is like you'll go in Minneapolis, St. Paul, like wherever has like the Truth in Housing. Yeah. And you'll do a Truth in Housing, which people don't realize is an actual home inspector doing the whole thing. And then they'll still ask for an inspection. I'm like, dude, it's the same inspection.
We saved you money, but okay.
I know. That, I mean,
Yeah.
they can't pass, it doesn't pass the truth in housing. It's got a certain thing wrong. It's the same as getting a house, like a home inspection. But I think some of the sellers don't want to do an inspection because they feel like if there's lots of stuff wrong, they're going to have to fix it. Because then you have to disclose. If you do an inspection, you have to disclose what's wrong with it. So I've seen a few of those, but not too many. Yeah. And then honestly, one that I sold last year at the end of the year had a pre-inspection, but I don't think it was a very good one. And then we were like, should we waive it? Should we not waive it? Like, it was kind of very, like, actually kind of shady, because then the homeowner's like, oh, I fixed it all. Yeah, you fixed it all by yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like an electrician or a plumber. So I don't know.
I don't know. I guess it could go 50. It's 50-50, you know. I guess I'd rather see my buyers do an inspection just to protect them down the road, but it's 100% their choice.
And I think it depends if it's a condo or townhouse too. I know I've been getting offers through on condos and townhomes, and we waive the inspection and do the appraisal clause. I know that because realtors have told me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're also still seeing some offers. Some people are big on escalation clauses, and we probably explained this before, where they'll pay $1,000 or $2,500 or $5,000 over the next best price. I think when we talked about this before, the $1,000 over the next best price doesn't do anything for anybody. 25 might, 5,000 does. Like that, I think the only time we've taken an escalation clause that somebody's done is when it was 5,000, but then it had the other components like no home inspection too, and some of the and the appraisal clause. Like literally somebody had 20,000 over the appraisal clause. So okay, well that's pretty strong all around. We'll do it had the trifecta. And it's still tied the best actual offer, but they had the tiebreakers were the appraisal clause that was higher than somebody else who had an appraisal clause, and they both had no inspection. And then on waiving the septic and water test, if you're doing a conventional loan, you don't need a water test. You don't. Like, I get that you don't want to drink poisonous water. You don't need to make a contingent on a water test. You can test your water and shock your well. Or unfortunately, there's a couple times where you probably have to install a water filtration system. So I'm not saying don't get a water test. It's just not something that you should make contingent upon in this market. I don't remember ever having a deal fall through because of the water, but there's probably been a handful of times where some sort of water filtration system had to be negotiated. And do you think a seller wants to put in a water filtration system for you? No, they don't. So that's going to be your cost when you're ready for it. The septic, though, in most counties and situations is a requirement. There's a few counties that it's like if you're by a body of water, it is required, and then it's not if it's out in 20 acres. But most buyers want to know the septic's compliant because they don't want to get stuck with the $20,000 bill. So a seller should plan on doing a septic. A buyer waiving the septic doesn't, like Michelle said, doesn't like keep it from not needing the septic because it's like the counties will require it on most of these houses. So.
Yeah, that's what I've been telling my clients out in the country. Just get the septic done right away. Because let's just say we put on the market and you need a new septic. So it's, 12, 15,000. Well, then we should have listed higher knowing you're going to put a septic in because you're going to be pissed when they want you to pay for it. It's just how it is. Yeah,
you want to go into the listing knowing what the situation is on the septic, unless you know it's going to pass. Like, hey, we'll get it. It should be good. You put it in 10 years ago or whatever. But I've got one we're working on. The coming soon is not coming soon yet because we're waiting on the whole situation on the septic because it's literally a big swing on doing it differently based on what the septic results are on the property. And we want to approach it right up front. So when we're representing the seller in this case, that it ends up with the best results, not a big cluster because, hopefully it works out. No, that's not good on a septic. Going into it, not knowing, like Michelle said, a septic, I got to charge my computer. It's going to shut off and the show will be over. Going into it, the septic's a big swing. And if you get stuck with it, during the process, the buyer is never going to want to pay. But you could negotiate it if you knew going into it, like, here's the situation, we're pricing it this way because of the septic, so let's make this work.
Yeah, and that's kind of just like doing the truth in housing. Like, that's why you do a truth in housing. You know what's wrong. You decide, okay, I'll do other repairs, or no, I'm not going to do any other repairs, and it's priced like this, and you'll have to do them when you buy it. But that's a good, in the winter you can't do the septic, but I've been telling my sellers just to do the septic so we know where we're at.
Mhm.
I think that's more helpful. But the thing is so if you can price it right to get multiple offers, there's always somebody with an appraisal clause in there. And then if you get a better offer, you're just like, hey, we got an appraisal clause over here. Like, can you do it? And normally they always say, yeah, well, we want the house, just do the appraisal clause. I don't think I've gotten a VA loan through this year. That's just like, that's a tough thing to do right now. In FHA too. I don't think I've done any FHA. But the thing is, most buyers, not most, a lot of buyers can go conventional or FHA. They choose to go FHA because the interest rate's lower. So, and that's just the talk and the discussion you have to have, when you have the buyers. But I've seen tons of conventional buyers lately. So maybe during the pandemic, their credit scores went up. I don't know.
Maybe.
But
they weren't going out, so they were able to pay off some stuff.
Yeah, and I got, we have a lot of buyers we work with that take like a year before they can buy because they got to get their credit score up. But my credit score was like amazing. And then I put a bunch of money on my credit card when I bought my house, like my flood insurance, all my insurance. And I was like, holy crap, my credit score dropped like 75 points in like one span like that because I put a ton of debt on my credit card.
Yeah.
And even if I pay it off, now it's going to take me like 3 months to get it back up. But I can see now by doing that how like people are like working on their credit score and it takes forever to get it up. And if you don't have the money to pay all your credit cards off, it's just like take you forever to get it back up. So I can see why that's hard for them to get their credit score up. But also, like, I know you guys talked a little bit about the market, about it is right now. I mean, I'm still seeing like in the country, like where Stacy lives, and seeing more like, like country, like 15 showings. I don't know what you guys are seeing. In the city, I'm still seeing like 50 showings, maybe more depending on the property, but it's weird. And then
what's weird about it, I think, Michelle, is the country is very popular. The lake homes are very popular, but you get 15 or 20 showings and 3 to 5 offers, let's say. I mean, maybe that's not the exact right amount for everyone, but in the cities with an aggressive price, not with your overpriced listing, not with like your wish and a prayer price listing and those kind of things, but on and the aggressive price isn't like, let's mark it down way down. It's normally like, most of the comps are here. There's a couple that show higher, but we're going to do better if we price it, say 10,000 lower, because you go with the higher amount, you might get that amount. You go with the 10,000 lower, you get 25,000 higher. That's a basic insight on the strategy. But if you do that in the Twin Cities, I think what Michelle's saying is that, you're going to get 50 showings and 12 offers, right? Stacy, you run into that too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't really think I'm in the country, but okay.
You are.
You are in the country, Stacey.
Wells and septics is country.
That's what you consider country? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good to know. The neighborhood, like literally right behind my backyard is a city, but okay. I will take that.
That's funny.
You have acreage and you have a shed, Stacy. Your country.
Country.
Dang it.
Your houses want it. You should just sell it.
You don't like being in the country? I thought that was like
no, I do. No. I like
success.
it. I like it. No, I really, we love it out here. We really do. I know. The only way I would sell is if I could go to the beach, and it's not a realistic dream right now with young kids still.
I don't know. I just saw another person in our office buy a house by the beach, so you might as well be the third person.
Yep.
I think there's more than 3.
I think there's
two. I think there's a few other ones I could think of.
They just don't post it on Facebook, I think, or not friends with them on Facebook or something.
Yep.
Yeah. I know. I walked in the office one day and they're like, there's like 5 of you in here buying.
Yeah. He's not far from you either, I don't think.
No.
So I think him and I had a conversation about it like a couple weeks ago. So I'll have to see how it's going for him.
Yeah. It's interesting how many people are buying second homes or selling their house and moving to their second home as well. That's what we're saying. We're selling lots of lake properties, or you can't even get them on the market and they just sell if they're priced right. I know you can't overprice a lake home either. And then land, you're saying if your land's like under 100,000 and you have like 10 or 20 acres, like boom, done. Buy. But
and it's buildable. It has to be buildable.
Yes, has to be buildable. If it's not buildable, you know how many calls I got like on that one property in Clearwater, I've gotten like 30 calls.
It's not buildable though.
Well, no, that one's already sold, but Zillow
Oh.
doesn't have it updated because that guy didn't update it. The agent didn't update it. But it's interesting though, how much like we help people sell land, and we never even, like we were talking about, we never meet at the people. We just help them, we know how to negotiate, and then we just sell them the property. Or I was talking to a girlfriend of mine, and she got a Galaxy phone, and I was like, I have to have an iPhone because I'm like FaceTiming everyone to like sell them a house. Like I don't know if I had a Galaxy, that probably wouldn't work very well. I could Skype.
I'm sure they have another. Doesn't Galaxy have another FaceTiming app or some sort? I don't know.
I don't know.
I
I've had
suppose
Skype.
I don't know.
Skype or FaceTime
or Zoom. I guess.
Yeah, Zoom. Yeah, I think I've done Zoom once. Hey, Kristen, my favorite realtors. Nancy wants to sell her house. We saw that too. She's getting it ready. Got some people commenting on here below, but anyone have any
see your guys' responses?
Oh, I know. I can see it on my phone. If you have any questions for us that like specifically, we can definitely answer them. But yeah, so the interest rate, if you have good credit's about 3% right now. Like Chuck said, Chuck sold his first house in Wisconsin. So
yay.
Go to Wisconsin.
Nice.
And then what was I saying? Well, Remax Results put the information out that in March, like say in St. Cloud, they had 340 listings last March, and this March they had like 150. So it was like 62% down.
Yeah.
The Twin Cities was like 9,600 listings last March, and now it's like 4,500. So it's down like 5,000 listings. So definitely, like that's why you're seeing 50 showings on a house. You're like, how could there even be 50 buyers out there? Well, of course there is. There's not enough listings out there. And then of course, when you see that many showings, there's lots of people that aren't buyers that just look.
Which is weird. I did want to bring that up. Like I get in the past, let's get out in front of people. Let's meet people. I'm not saying we will never show a home if you're not pre-approved, but the point being, when it's that popular and they're all selling quick, you do need to be pre-approved to buy. You're not going to be able to buy it. And then if you're in the spot where, well, I'm scared to pull my credit because my credit's not that great or whatever, well, then you're not able to buy it. Well, I look at it, the market could be different when your credit's better. Might be a lot of times the credit repair process is 3 to 6 to 1 year, 3 to 6 months to 1 year. And the market obviously could be a little bit higher. Yeah. Like I said, it could flatten out. I feel like it is, but it's hard to say with that imbalance of supply. It just seems like, well, it's not going to go down because it's supply and demand, basic economics, supply and demand.
Yep.
And then the cost of money, and then the infusion of free money, and how that affects everything. So, but get pre-approved or don't go look at a house is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It doesn't pay right now unless you want to look at. I'll give you one list you can look at not pre-approved, but if you can get pre-approved, we'll let you do it. So
yeah, I know.
Because everything else is selling right away.
Yeah.
I had somebody call on a listing the other day. I was over $1 million, and they're like, "Can I see it?" I'm like, "Where's your pre-approval?" That's not how I say it, but they're like, "Oh."
I listened to the call, Michelle. If I had to break down how to do a call, that could have been worked on a little bit.
Probably. But they're like, I could have, but I was like, dude, you can't buy this house, probably, most likely, or you'd be like more excited to get pre-approved, right? If you're not excited to get pre-approved, you can't buy a house. You're just trying to look at the house.
Well, in those upper end houses, they always request pre-approvals. They don't want, anybody going through the house. Like, a lot of the listings will require pre-approvals, especially the upper end ones. And a lot of sellers are requesting, I only want pre-approved buyers. So the key is you got to be pre-approved to look, especially in this market.
I think that I was answering that call based on like, oh, okay. And then on past experience with clients that aren't pre-approved and pretend they're pre-approved, and then you waste time with them. And like people trying to get in really expensive houses just to see like what's in the houses. Like we have to also, even if they're not our sellers, we have to protect them. We can't just be like, oh yeah, they're pre-approved, let's just bring them through. But I just think I don't know why people aren't getting pre-approved, but I would say 95% of the time, if I say you're not pre-approved, like I can send you lenders, they're like, yeah, send me them. Like even if they're lying. That's why that call was interesting, because they were like bucking me sending them lenders. So, but it's what it is. but yeah, I mean, try to get pre-approved, because if you're not, like, don't go look at houses. And I've had plenty of people this year already like, yep, we're going to do that first. And they can't, they have to wait a year. And then it's like, okay, they saved themselves time. It's not only saving us time, like
saving themselves
kids and family,
time.
But they're saving themselves times. And if you just want to go look at houses, go to the open house with the 30 people not wearing their masks or whatever they're doing. Like, I don't know. So like, go look at houses and open houses. Like, I don't know. So I will help people. Like Chuck said, I'll take them out the first time. They're like, yeah, we'll get pre-approved. We just want to see this house. Like normally they can get pre-approved. Them to see that one house. But there were days like 2-3 years ago where we'd meet everyone who was like not pre-approved and help them get pre-approved. And now just with COVID, we don't really do that. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, and I mean, between the three of us and Barbara too, I mean, we're all pretty busy. So just kind of gallivanting around to people that aren't pre-approved. I mean, we're taking time away from our clients that are approved and ready to go too. Not saying we won't, but
Sounds good. Any final comments, Stacy or Michelle? Otherwise, we're at 45 minutes in the show. And
wow, Michelle, you talked a lot. You had a lot to say today. Thank you.
She's the one who wanted to do the show. I've been like,
I haven't done a show in like a month. I have all this stuff to spew out.
Yeah. No, way to take point. Thanks. That's helpful. And then we can piggyback off.
The good thing is when we go a long time between shows, there's more download on the shows.
So, and there's more downloads. Content.
Because not everybody, a lot of people download.
Everybody.
If they find
your downloads our podcast.
Not that many people download the podcast, but the people that do download the most recent one. And if you have it out there, more people download it. So.
Yep. That's true.
Nice. I don't know. Enjoy the weather that we're supposed to have this week, hopefully. Fingers crossed for the Minnesotans.
Yeah, well, it's not raining here. AJ went to take photos.
Nice, so, yeah. Good. It's supposed to stop raining and be like 65, so.
Good.
We'll see.
That sounds nice. I'll take it. I can sit out on my deck and look out the backyard without freezing.
Yep.
And have baseball practice for the little kids who had a year off of baseball, and it looks like they had 5 years off for a lot of them.
Oh my gosh, I bet.
Yeah.
Oh my.
Very, very tough. And I should say this, not that, Lucas had his first basketball, and the Cambridge didn't do anything in the off season where some kids did. Boy, can you tell, like just kids didn't know where to run, who to guard, run a play. Inbounding the basketball, it made me realize, and this relates to real estate. Some people know the basics, and you'd think in basketball, like you take the ball out, throw it in, right? You think, you get fouled, you go to the free throw line, right? Just that's an automatic that I don't think it's coached out of. And I didn't think of either until witnessing that. And I volunteered to coach, assuming it holds up next year on the team you'd be at locally. I now realize how many basic things a kid will not know about their sport, like baseball, basketball, like literally the most basic automatic things they don't know. So realize this in real estate, there's a lot of people that don't know most of the basic automatic things. Yeah. So sometimes why we say this or repeat things, we're actually telling you like upper level strategies, but there's so many people, even realtors or buyers or sellers, that don't know these basic things because they haven't been in the market for a while and have some assumptions that are wrong. And you can't inbound the basketball standing on the end line. You can't throw it in and then you go in and inbound it, but that's what a lot of people do in real estate.
No, I know. I had an agent that I just closed with a buyer. He had called me and he's like, I'm pretty new. You did such a good job. Can you give me some instruction? He was from a different company. And I helped him a little bit. He's like, I copied your stuff word for word. You guys are so good. And I was like, it's like, actually what you're saying is they're on basics. They're trying to dribble the ball and we're giving you free advice up here. Maybe we're 6-man or something starting, but that's just, it compares to lots of other things in life, like all jobs, like entry level to experienced, more experienced. So.
Yep. Nice. And that's why we're trying to keep information out to people, things that would help them. Obviously agents could listen to this and probably learn a little bit more about what to do, how to handle it. Cause there's a lot of realtors are actually not having as good of a year as they'd like, just because it is a tough market out there for if you're especially working with buyers, and it's tough to find listings. We've had a good run of now, obviously listing and selling almost every listing here in the last month and a half, but there's times where it's like, how do you get the listings if you don't have experience? Because people want to work with somebody who knows what they're doing, especially in this market. It makes a big difference. Like I'm not even seeing many. Now I'm extending the show. I'm not seeing many for sale by owners. It doesn't make sense to be for sale by owner. The least sensible time in the history of real estate to be a for sale by owner is right now. And you might say, why? It's so easy to sell. Well, yeah, you list it on the market, you get $20,000 more on a $400,000 house. $20,000 more or less covers the commission. What about on a $200,000 house? You're losing as a for sale by owner. And on a $400,000 house, you want somebody to walk this through because of the people that don't know what they're doing, that don't know how to inbound the ball, that don't know how to dribble the ball because they're at the third grade level of basketball when it comes to real estate. So that's why you need help.
And you're probably paying a buyer's agent anyway. So
correct. You're probably paying a buyer's agent anyway. So never in this market should you sell for sale by owner unless you like to inbound the basketball and get called for a violation and step over the line and run back over the line and take 5 minutes for the referee to explain how dumb it is because you're third graders.
See, that's why I could never coach.
No, I love coaching.
No, not for me.
I love coaching.
I don't know enough about the sports, any of them to.
For third graders, it's totally not dumb not how to inbound it. But I think at our level of doing business in this kind of transaction, if you're handling it that way, that would be dumb.
That's funny. I love it. Good analogy.
All right. Well, with that, we'll end the broadcast. If anybody understood what I just said, it was a metaphor.
Yes.
All right.
Exactly.
Take care, everybody. I'm sure we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching.